Guess what, North Carolina? Now, I don't want to jinx it, but we're almost to the weekend, and so far this week, no major entity has pulled events out of the state due to HB2. What's that? The Southern Conference just called a press conference? Great. HB2, or if you prefer the official title, that miserable piece of civil rights denying legislation that was passed and signed in one day without discussion and has sullied the state's reputation and had detrimental economic consequences, whatever you want to call it, either of those. That bill has dominated state headlines this week after the NCAA and the ACC pulled games out of the state. In fact, it's all anybody has been able to talk about. It. Gas crisis. What, there's a gas crisis? Oh my God, crisis. Okay, apparently there was a pipeline leak affecting the Southeast and the East Coast, but it sounds like it was more of a people panic than an actual gas crisis. Calm down, everybody. And in case you missed anything in regards to HB2 while you were waiting in line for gas, let's review what happened this week. After the NCAA and the ACC pulled out, other than a few terse issued statements about letting the matter play out in court, it was mostly quiet from Governor McCrory's camp at first. Also, I'm guessing he pulled back on some of the airplay for his ad bragging about HB2.
Not on my watch.
And I'm guessing he stopped using this joke to warm up crowds.
And if any of you need to use the restrooms.
And if McCrory really had to tell you how he's doing after the NCAA and the ACC left town, it would probably look something like this.
Not great, Bob.
Late last week, several Republican legislators, mostly representing districts heavily affected by the NCAA and ACC decisions, came forth and said it's time to re-examine or repeal HB2, though most of them mentioned still supporting some vague concept of bathroom safety, wrongly continuing the notion that HB2 actually provides any safety protections. It doesn't. Then Pat McCrory and his attorneys quietly dropped his lawsuit against President Obama's Justice Department, citing the substantial cost to the state of litigating, which, has been true since the minute he was talked into filing it, and calling it a duplicative action based on other pending legal cases, which is not exactly true, but for simplicity's sake, we'll give them a pass on that one. When McCrory did finally surface in person, it was Friday at a scheduled lunch event in Charlotte, where he was brave enough to take questions from Pat McCrory. At the event, McCrory was expected to take questions from the floor, but due to recent events, his staff requested questions be submitted ahead of time. According to the Charlotte Observer, when it came time for questions, McCrory's tough guy response to the moderator was, quote, "Anything you want, no filter here." He then proceeded to field 3 softball questions planted from his campaign. And when an Observer reporter did try to ask a question, he was rebuffed. McCrory acted as if the 3 planted questions had been from the Charlotte Observer. Afterwards, McCrory slipped out a side door and left his crummy little toady, Ricky Diaz, to cover for him. Diaz said the folks putting on the luncheon asked for the campaign to provide the questions, but that was, that was a lie. Because Jen Snyder, the director of the event, said they were expecting the governor to take live questions, but the campaign insisted on a different format and insisted on submitting questions themselves. Oh, Pat, lies, ducking reporters. And look at your body language when you have to talk about HB2 in public. You know this is not going well. You know you want to blame those legislators who pushed this on you. Do you even want to be governor for 4 more years? I guess you really can't go back to being mayor of Charlotte now, can you? Speaking of Charlotte, after regrouping, Team McCrory came up with a new strategy in terms of a conditional HB2 repeal that included Charlotte repealing its ordinance. But the NCAA and the ACC and PayPal and the NBA and all the concerts, they didn't pull out any events because of Charlotte's ordinance. And in fact, many other cities across America have similar ordinances and they face no such economic repercussions. Rightfully, Charlotte City Council and Mayor Jennifer Roberts announced this week that no such rollback of their ordinance is to be expected. Now, trying to reach a compromise in this thing reminds me of the old riddle of the man trying to cross a river in a boat with a fox, a chicken, and some corn. And he can only take one at a time in the boat, but he can't leave certain items alone with each other. So we can't have the events and businesses and fun things if we have the HB2, And Republicans say we can't get rid of HB2 if we have the Charlotte Ordinance. But the Charlotte Ordinance and the events and businesses and fun things, they get along fine together. Here's the difference between the riddle and real life. In this situation, no one wants to be in the boat with discrimination. The first step here is repealing HB2 unconditionally. Would you like to have a conversation about the exact measures in Charlotte's ordinance, Governor McCrory or the state legislators? That's fine. Let's have that conversation. It should be open to challenges. But you don't swat a gnat with a nuclear weapon. And you don't make the entire state suffer because you want to draw a line in the sand that's already underwater in terms of where the discussion should be about gay and transgender rights. Call a special session, Governor McCrory. Repeal HB2. Admit you were wrong. If you do it soon enough, you might even still have time to get reelected. But I doubt any of that stuff will happen, including the reelection. From North Carolina Yesterday Today, I'm Hayes Permar.